everybody. It is time for Bayou Bets. We welcome you and thank you for joining us. Today is Thursday. It is February the 8th and is the last show we will have before Super Bowl LVIII. Plenty to talk about today. We remind you that bet.NOLA.com is your source for all the line moves and value plays, although there haven't been a whole lot of line moves the last 10 days or so. We're going to get into that in just a minute. And we ask you to subscribe to the Bayou Bets YouTube channel. What is going on, Spence?
Hey, Jim. Yeah, I'm excited, man. You know, Super Bowl LVIII, it always, with the Super Bowl, it's always this all the hoopla leading up to it, all this storyline they try to fabricate, all this crap. Man, just play the game already. I'm excited that it's almost here because that week leading up to it's so annoying because then they had the Pro Bowl game. Shout out to Eli Manning. At least he made it a little meme worthy there. But overall, just ready for the big game.
Couldn't really get into that for sure. I'm glad that we are the Super Bowl LVIII. It is always sad when football is over, but I'll tell you, by the time it finally gets here, I'm like, let's just play. I'm with you. That extra week off is always a little bit tough. We're going to be talking about the Saints today and their OC search because we have not had a show here and since the Saints have at least kind of through channels announced that they're going to hire Klint Kubiak when the Super Bowl is over from the 49ers. And then, of course, we're going to spend, I would say, 75% of our show talking about Super Bowl LVIII today. The sides we like. We're going to look at each team. We're going to talk about the different prop plays. We're going to have big bucks today. Our final big bucks segment of the year. Gabe Henderson and Thomas Casale will be on later for that. And then we're going to finish off our show this afternoon talking about the Pelicans. They didn't do very much with today's trade deadline, but they are on a hot streak right now, and they played maybe their best game of the season last night against the LA Clippers on the road, winning by, I believe, 11 points on the road, and it wasn't that close, to be honest. The Pels kind of pulled away towards the end. Some meaningless points there in the last couple minutes kind of changed that from being an overwhelming victory. But we will close the show out talking about the Pelicans. But let's get into talking first, Spence, about the New Orleans Saints. And will the hiring of Klint Kubiak be enough change for the Saints? Lots of going on the especially on the offensive side of the football. We are hearing that Ronald Curry is going to be departing the Saints team. Where he goes, we're not sure. But, you know, we talked. Okay, the Bills. I hadn't seen that yet. But I will say this. We talked last week, and I think you and I were both on the same page. It was either going to be Klint Kubiak or it was going to be Ronald Curry, and we were both leaning towards Kubiak. And, look, the Saints, there's no doubt this team needs a change on the offensive side of the football. Do you think this is going to be enough?
I think it's a step in the right direction. I don't know if it'll be enough because there's other teams improving in the division, but it definitely helps. It helps their chances for sure. I think if they play their cards right with personnel, then they should be the NFC South favorite again. And to me, it starts with getting rid of Michael Thomas. I mean, I've said it last show and I'll say it again. I mean, they've got to move on from him and start anew. But I feel like by getting rid of Pete Carmichael is a step in that direction. So I think Mickey Loomis and the higher-ups are more committed to bringing in some fresh personnel as well. Hopefully let Klint Kubiak hand pick some people that he thinks would be good fits for the offense.
I definitely agree. And look, I mean, you look at these numbers on the screen. They're not that far off from being a better team. How much better can they be? Not 100% sure that we know the answer to that. By the way, if you want to comment, have a comment, or you have a question, you want to type it into the stream here on either YouTube, Facebook, or X, wherever you're watching, we'll be glad to show it on the screen and talk about it a little bit and show your comment. But again, you look at these numbers, they're not that far off. It's just the problem that I had with this team more than anything was consistency. And we talked about it, that Pete Carmichael would come out and have games where, hey, man, this looks pretty good. You feel good about where this team is. And there would be other games like, where's Taysom Hill? Where's this running game? Why didn't they even try to run the ball? They didn't try to run the ball. Derek Carr's hurt, shouldn't be in there. Needed to find something else to do. So there were games where, you know, look, to me, just because they played very well the last 5 games of the year season, going 4-1 down the stretch, it wasn't enough to get them in the playoffs. And with that schedule, we talked about it over and over again. They've got to find a way to get consistency. And I think getting a new play caller in here and a guy like Klint Kubiak, who's obviously coaching for a team that's going to be playing this Sunday in the final game of the year, that can only help.
Right, and he's called plays before with the Vikings, and they had a solid offense. I believe it was 2021. Kirk Cousins had a really good year that year. Derek Carr, a similar quarterback to Kirk Cousins, so I would think Derek
Yeah, I
Carr
agree.
pick up the system pretty well. And I also think it's going to help the running game a lot because the Saints' weakness from last year, as we can see on the screen here, 21st ranked rushing attack. So I think Kamara and especially Kendre Miller. Kendre Miller is on that's got to get going. But, he's on a rookie deal. He's definitely going to be a key part next year. He was a second, third round pick, day 2 pick. So I think Kubiak coming in is going to really help get that running game rolling.
Michael James puts a question out there that we're certainly going to be transitioning towards as soon as the Super Bowl is over. I think this is the next thing that we're going to be talking about. Obviously, when the Super Bowl is over, you start shifting your attention to the draft. The draft is obviously at the end of April, so we're talking about 2.5 months away. What position do we think the Saints should go after first round of the draft? And I can tell you right now, I've said this multiple times already. I think if the Saints don't draft an offensive lineman with their first pick in the draft, I said this last year and they didn't listen, but I think they're insane. I think they need to be reevaluated beyond offensive coordinator and head coach if they don't pick an offensive lineman, and specifically a tackle with the first pick of the draft, their first pick of the draft.
They have to, yeah, because Trevor Penning isn't panning out, so I think they'll have to do like they did with Andrus Peat a few years ago, kick him out the guard. And it's funny how things circle back. Pete ended up being the one to step up this year at tackle, but
absolutely,
I don't see that being a long-term solution. So I agree. Definitely got us. And then the Ryan Ramczyk thing, that's what really seals it. With him being uncertain, I mean, they should probably go back-to-back offensive linemen.
Look, they went back-to-back defensive linemen for all intents and purposes last year. I mean, Isaiah Foskey could be looked at it as linebacker. He's not really. He's more of a lineman, and that was an epic fail. I don't think there's any question that was an epic fail. It looks like Trevor Penning is a fail. Peyton Turner was a fail. They have not done well. They have got to get this right. They got Chris Olave right in the same draft. They got Trevor Penning wrong in that first round. They had two picks. Olave was a great pick. Penning was not. And I just don't think you can afford to swing and miss here. There's just too much on the line for this team. If they're going to be good in the near future, got to get on offensive line here to protect Derek Carr. They have got to show up this offense.
Definitely, because there's really no certainty outside of Eric McCoy and Cesar Ruiz. 3/5 of the offensive line is uncertain. So, yeah, I would say back-to-back would be a good idea because, like last year, the D-line was pretty shaky and it went through a rough patch. I mean, Brazil looked pretty solid, and I still think there's hope for Foskey. I wouldn't necessarily call him an epic fail yet, but it's, didn't show much as a rookie. Hopefully he doesn't end up like Peyton Turner. Peyton Turner, I'm about done with. But Foskey, I know it was rough, but people Kendre Miller wasn't anything as a rookie, but I still have hope for him.
Well, Kendre Miller is a third-round draft pick. You can afford to swing and miss with a third-round draft pick, in my opinion. And I'm not so sure Kendre Miller won't be a bigger part of this team later on. But the little bit we saw from Foskey before he was quote-unquote hurt he was lost. I mean, it was like he was playing high school ball in college. I mean, he just didn't belong out there. That's a whole different story. Yeah. Beyond that fact, though, even if he turns into something, the fact that they picked – we were talking about it, when Zach and I were doing our live show last year, and it came down to the second pick. I mean, the go defense, 2 picks in a row at the top was insane, in my opinion. Just insane. Mike wants to know what they can get for Michael Thomas, and honestly,
nothing.
Nothing.
Got to release him.
Yeah, he's going to get cut. They're going to get
low.
nothing for Michael Thomas. Nothing. Jeff says need 2 tackles and a guard, so he agrees with us both. Jeff also says he thinks Kansas City wins on Sunday. That's a good transition. We're not going to give our pick out just yet, but it is time to shift towards the Super Bowl. And look, interesting lines here. We'll talk about the line movement or the lack thereof in just a minute. The public all over the Chiefs, the Sharps, the ones I listen to on a regular basis at least. We're talking about this in pre-production, Spencer. It is like split. I mean, it's funny because they're like, it's almost evenly split to where I hear sharps like there's so many on Kansas City, and for the same reasons that the normal person would be on Kansas City, because you just can't bet against Mahomes, which I completely understand. And then I also understand the 49ers picks, that they've been the best team all season, and we're trying to avoid recency bias. But when you look at these numbers, I mean, this has the recipe. This isn't going to be like the game they played 4 years ago. I don't think this is going to be a super high scoring game. So I don't have this as one of my big bucks picks, but I will tell you that I lean towards the under, because I think that this is a game. You look at these two defenses. These defenses, I think, are going to have a lot to do with who wins this game. These numbers are very similar. You got the 8th-ranked defense going against the 9th-ranked offense. You got the 2nd-ranked defense for Kansas City going against the 2nd-ranked offense in San Francisco. I don't know that you could find two more evenly matched teams.
Yeah, for sure. I think the total could end up a little more high scoring, but I do agree that it will be a very tight contest, and that it's kind of hard to know which side to lean with. I mean, as of now, I'm leaning with the 49ers. Give my final score pick later, but yeah, I feel like it's one of those deals to where, yeah, they haven't looked that great in their playoff run where the Chiefs have. But I think that recency bias is causing bettors to be a little too gaga over the Chiefs. And I know they've got Mahomes, but it's deeper than that. It's a team game. And to me, the 49ers still have the much more complete roster.
I agree with that aspect. Then here's the problem. This is why Vegas wins money.
It's that recency bias.
You cannot. And again, I'm not giving away my pick just yet, because I'll explain my pick in more detail in just a minute when we get the big bucks, because I have played a side, even though a lot of the sharps aren't playing sides. They might tell you who they like if you were forced to pick one, but a lot of sharps are staying away from this game because they think it's too hard to pick, which is hard to believe. A lot of people out there, they're like, there's no way you can't not bet the Super Bowl. Well, for some people, that's the only game they do bet. And I understand that, Kansas City beat Buffalo, they beat Baltimore. But if you think about it, were Buffalo and Baltimore really as good as everybody thought they were? If you think they were, then maybe you do put a little bit more on Kansas City win those games. If you're like me, I'm not sure how good Buffalo and Baltimore really were. I am very, let's say, I don't want to say anti is not the right word, but I think that Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson both are highly overrated. I've said this many times before. When it comes down to big games, what have either one of those guys done in big games? And I tell you what, anybody out there, if you want to type this in, what's the biggest game that either one of those guys has ever won? Can you tell me what that is?
Yeah, I say the one that comes to mind for Allen was the one that he almost won against Mahomes,
but
the one that went to overtime. Right, so it's like, no, there's really no. The only play Mahomes is, for his sake, lucky he got injured, was Burrow. Joe Burrow is the one that steps up in big games outside of Mahomes. So, yeah,
I'm just saying,
fair point.
It's hard to find one. Meanwhile, you got Patrick Mahomes, who just finished playing his 6th consecutive conference championship game. That is absurd. To play in 6 consecutive conference championship games, basically, it's not officially his first 6 seasons, but basically his first 6 seasons as a starting quarterback. I mean, that's insane. And then on the other side, you got Brock Purdy, who played in his 2nd straight conference championship game, and now he's going to be playing in his first Super Bowl. So this Super Bowl has, to me, kind of the future. Obviously, Mahomes has been doing it a little bit longer, so you can't really, I don't know if you call him the future, but I think he's got 8-10 good years left in him. He could play easily for 8 or 10 more years. Mahomes could be the GOAT. I mean, we could talk about Tom Brady. There are already people comparing Mahomes to Brady, and if he wins this game, Spencer, he's ahead of Tom Brady and the pace that he had set.
Right, yeah, it's like I feel like I wasn't around during this time, but during the 90s when Jordan was really hitting his stride, I feel like prior to that, I'm sure it was Wilt Chamberlain was the consensus GOAT of basketball. And a lot of people are like, oh, no one's going to ever catch him. Just like the way no one's going to ever touch Brady. But I mean, we got Mahomes now. If Mahomes wins this one, that'd be his 3rd. He'd be on like I said, a faster pace than Brady and putting up way better numbers than Brady did at a young age. Brady was more of a game manager in his younger years. So, yeah, Mahomes is, if he wins this, he's on that GOAT trajectory for sure.
Well, let's talk about the line movement and where it is right now, where it's been, and if it tells us anything. And it opened up at 2.5. A couple people will say it really opened at 3. It was at 3 for about as long as it took me to drink this drink in one big gulp, okay, which was not very long. So it really opened up at 2.5. It quickly dropped to 1 in a heartbeat, and then the next day or two rose back to 2, and it has been there ever since. Almost everywhere I've seen a 1.5 at places. At ESPN Bet, I believe, is at 1.5. But most places, and we've been using DraftKings for the last few weeks. It's 2 at Caesars, it's 2 at DraftKings, it's 2 at FanDuel, and the money line is -120 at DraftKings. It's -130 at Caesars. You can shop around depending on who you like. I just think that every time this kind of starts moving a little bit, and we've seen it at DraftKings go to as far as to -130 there, it got quickly bet the other way. I think it's exactly where Vegas wants it. I don't think it's going to move very much either way, because every time it starts moving back towards, like, if it looks like San Francisco is going to get closer to 2.5, the sharps pound it and make sure that it stays where it is. I just don't think it's going to move very much.
Right. Yeah. If it hadn't moved as much as last year, I remember last year it moved a lot with the Eagles. Yeah, toward Philly, where it is. So I feel like they had a lot of sharps on them, and of course the Vegas cleaned up. Where this one, I feel like this will just be one where I feel like it's pretty much split to where I don't see that. That's why I think this is just one that we just gotta sit back and let it happen, because this isn't one to where the sharps or the public or Vegas. So I think the public's more on the Chiefs. So I feel like Vegas, though, Vegas and the sharps are kind of like, it's kind of a stalemate there. It's the only thing that's really up for much loss is the public, and public usually loses anyway, which is even more reason why I'm liking the 49ers.
Yeah, and here what I've been seeing is the number of tickets that have been purchased, anywhere from 70 to 80% on the Chiefs. So there you go. And the money, from what I've seen, is somewhere around 60 to 65% Chiefs. So the money is that Vegas is absolutely rooting for the Niners, and which is interesting, because if you see a -130 at Caesars, they're basically telling you to stay away from the Niners. They want you to bet on Kansas City. So it just depends. I don't think that I've ever seen, going around and looking at different books, that much of a difference, because you can get anywhere from about -118 Niners. You can get Kansas City. I've seen +110, +112 in places. Don't think just this wide variety of numbers. I just find it interesting. So we'll see where it goes. But this spread, this number, and the way that it's moved tells me that Vegas thinks they have the right number. They're not going to change it. It's not one of those ones where normally here I'm on Thursday telling you, if you like so-and-so, wait until Sunday, you might get a better number. Or if you like so-and-so, you need to bet it now because it's going to change. I don't think it matters. I don't think it's going to move very much. If it does, it might move a little bit before the game time, but definitely not like last year. Like you said, Spencer, Kansas City was a favorite, I think, when we went on Bayou Bets on a Thursday, and by Sunday, Philadelphia was the favorite. So I definitely think we're going to see that. All right, let's bring on our crew here. I'm going to bring on Gabe and Thomas, and it's time for our Big Buck segment. Before I bring up the banner, what's going on, gentlemen?
Not much. Just getting ready for the Super Bowl.
Everybody's ready, I hope. We'll find out, and we'll see what happens when we bring up Big Bucks here. We'll see. I'm gonna move Thomas over here if I can do it, if it lets me do that. Oh yeah, look at that. Let me do that. All right, Turkey. What's up, Turk? Oh, we got 2 turkeys in the house.
I'm doing it for -12, I think it was, a few weeks ago. It was a good week where I was the worst, so I'll take my punishment for that.
All right, there you go. Y'all are looking mighty good in those hats. But I got a feeling we're going to finish strong here as we go in. We have looked. We bring in Tom as well, and I think we've all looked at. I don't know that we've looked through the 1,000-ish kind of bet. You literally can probably make 1,000 different bets on Sunday if you wanted to. But I think we've all gone through the prop bets and have our own reasoning for why we like what we like and what they are. And I found the bets as I was typing them in this morning interesting, because even though I think we maybe feel fairly similar on the game itself, we have mostly different props, and I can't wait to hear the reasoning We're going to start with the guru who finished last week as we do our final big bucks picks of the week. And maybe we could spend a little bit more time than we normally. Just take 3 minutes instead of 2 minutes this week.
Cool. Yeah, I'll start off with the spread play. Really like the Niners to cover this. I think if they win this thing, they're going to win by at least a field goal. So I'm going to lay a good amount there, laying the 2, putting 50 plus the juice 53. I feel like this is one to where I feel comfortable betting multiple units. My units normally like 10 to 20, but like I feel like this is one where I'd be willing to lay multiple units on this because I don't see the hype with the Chiefs as a team. You know, they've got injuries too at the left guard. They're all pro left guard. Joe Tooney's banged up. Their defense very solid, but the Willie Gay banged up as well on their key defensive players. So I'm thinking that Christian McCaffrey has a big outing, and Brock Purdy, while he's struggled at times, he's managed to pull through in the clutch when it matters. He seems to have ice in his veins, unlike, as we were talking earlier, Jim, about you're saying, when's the last time Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson have won big games? But Brock Purdy has showed, barring that his elbow stays intact, that he's capable of getting these big games done, and he's healthy and rolling. So I'm thinking that the Niners cover this thing, and I feel confident in them doing so. I also like the over. I'm going to take the over 47.5. With all the star power on the field offensively, I just feel like this thing's going to end up a back and forth, especially in the second half. The first half total, I might lean the under, although that's probably lower. It's probably only like 20 or something because there tends to be less points in the first half regardless.
It's actually very similar this year because of the bias that Kansas City is 18-2 to the under in the second half of their games this season. So it's 23.5, I think, both in the first half and the second half.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Well, yeah, I didn't feel quite good enough to play that, but I do like the over because I see this going back and forth, trading blows at the end, kind of like the last time these two teams faced off. Fourth quarter was a bit of a back and forth, so I like the over there. And I like Isaiah Pacheco to score a touchdown. Feel good about this one. 49ers run defense kind of struggled here down the stretch, so I'm thinking Pacheco finds the end zone. He's been running hard, y'all. He has been killing it as a runner here. And so with the Jerick McKinnon unlikely to play, CEH a non-factor, I think Pacheco's going to find the end zone at least once there as the true workhorse running back there for the Chiefs. And I got a 3-leg parlay player props. Didn't fit. I think I had Debo in there as well. It's all good.
And then I forgot to go back and fix it.
It's all good. Yeah, there's a Debo over 16.5 rushing yards. I feel like Debo Samuel's going to be involved more as a runner. He hadn't been involved as much as a runner this year, but I think for the Super Bowl, they're going to dust off some of those old plays, which he did well as a runner there, especially in the previous Super Bowl. He had over 50 rushing yards against the Chiefs, so I like over 16.5. Purdy, though, I like under 12.5 rushing yards. I don't see Purdy repeating his success as a runner. Purdy's a pocket passer. I think last week was a fluke. I'll take the under on his rushing total. And then Mahomes over 261.5 passing yards, y'all. I mean, this is Patrick freaking Mahomes. This is the modern GOAT. I mean, he's not going to go down without a fight. Even if the Chiefs lose, I see him going out there swinging. So I'm going to take the over on his passing yards play. And then I've got kind of a hedge here in case the Niners don't perform like I'm thinking. I've got Travis Kelce to win MVP at 12-1 because I feel like if the Chiefs win, Kelsey's going to score multiple touchdowns. And if he scores multiple touchdowns, I think the voters might give him MVP over Mahomes because Mahomes has won it twice, both times the Chiefs won. And with all the hype surrounding Kelsey, I think if it's close, they're going to lean toward giving it to him. They gave it to Cooper Kupp a couple of years ago, a pass catcher. So there's a little bit of a hedge there in case the Niners don't pull through.
By the way, our rules for the Super Bowl are a little bit tweaked a little bit. We usually cap our limit at 100 per week, not including juice. The juice may take us over $100 in bets, but for this week, Super Bowl only, we are allowed to bet up to 200 plus the juice for this 1 week. And you see our totals for the season. We all started out with 1,000 fake bucks. That's where we are, and we're gonna finish it out this way. Gabe, you had a rough week last week, but overall, You went through a hot streak there towards the end of the regular season, got you well over 1,000. Let's see if you can finish strong.
Yeah, part of that reason was because I was betting teasers. So, I'm going to kick it off. My biggest play of the week is a teaser. I've got Kansas City +8 combined with under 41.5. These teams are two of the now most successful franchises in NFL history. They've combined to play in 12 Super Bowls. They've gone under 41.5 just 3 times. So that's why I feel good there. 3 of their 5 playoff games have gone over that total. The only 2 that went under were with the Chiefs. But I think Mahomes is enough to keep it close. My strategy this whole time, ever since last year when I picked Philly to win the Super Bowl, I've said I'm not betting against Mahomes in the playoffs. So I'm not going to necessarily pick a Chiefs win. I don't feel comfortable calling this game. But I think they'll keep it close, as 4 of the 5 playoff games that these two teams have played have been decided by 8 points. And the only one that wasn't was a big Kansas City win. So either way, 5 out of the 5 playoff games they've played so far will have helped me in those trends. I'm going to agree with Spencer in a sense. I like Isaiah Pacheco to have a big game. I thought about picking him to score a touchdown, but I took him over 16.5 rushing attempts. He's had over 17 carries in 5 of his last 8 games, 24 rushing attempts in multiple playoff games this year. And I really think the running games are going to be important on both sides. So I like Pacheco to play a big role in the Super Bowl with over 17 attempts. I also like George Kittle. Longest reception over 21.5 yards. This line moved a little bit. It was 20.5 earlier in the week. But I'm still betting it just because of the trends. He's hitting 8 of the last 10, where his longest reception have gone over 22 yards. They've gone for 28, 32, 58, 35, 44, 32, 24, and 66. I mean, this dude just makes big plays. And as Spencer mentioned earlier, Willie Gay's a little bit banged up in the middle of the field. So with the Chiefs secondary really honing in on guys like Brandon Ayuk and Deebo Samuel, I like George Kittle to have a big play here, especially after his viral clip, the "I'll be back here" motivation after only 4 catches for 36 yards the last time out against the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I'm picking a Kansas City anytime touchdown score, and it's going to be Spencer's Super Bowl MVP long shot. Travis Kelce scored in both Chiefs winning Super Bowls. He scored in his last 2 games. And really, I'm playing his anytime touchdown scorer here because I failed with his reception total bets. I kind of knew he'd play a big part over the last few weeks. I just decided to take his receptions as opposed to touchdowns. So I'm switching it up here. I think he's going to find the end zone. And then this last play, this is a weird one for me. And I know this is one of Thomas's favorite plays from an article he did a few weeks ago. Kyle Juszczyk, he had over half a reception, and I had that earlier as well. I really do like the over on his receptions. He's a reception machine, usually has 1 to 2 a game. But I'm going to play the under here just because of the value. I think it's unplayable at -190, which is what the over's at. And let's be honest, guys, it's 2024 now. How unlikely is it that a fullback finishes a game without a reception? So I like the value here. I put a little bit on the +145 just to kind of find some value. I think it's to win 12 something. So I'll take that all day.
All right, you guys have done your due diligence. You can take those damn hats off if you want. We're done with the turkey hats for the season, and let's be winners here. Thomas, you've got some prop bets, 3 big prop bets here that you like. You're on mute. I did it too.
Sorry, I was I'm a bit sick. I was coughing. I didn't want to drown you guys out. So Gabe kind of hit it. I hit Juszczyk 0.5 receptions and yards when it opened. That was just a bad number. I bet his over the last time they played in the Super Bowl, it was 9.5 yards. And if you remember, he caught the pass and scored a touchdown. So I think one of the reasons you can't really bet receptions right now at the -190 is because the number was so bad on the opener. Right. A lot of people came in with money. But I do like his over 4.5 receiving yards. And I went, over his longest reception, 4.5 yards too. Couple of reasons why. Last 2 games against the Chiefs, he's gone over 30 receiving yards. 6 out of his last 8 games overall, he's been 20+ receiving yards. And the thing about Kansas City is the way they blitz, you can slip the backs out into the flats. So I think there's going to be a couple of couple of those fake runs where they go and they try to get a little one out to use check on 3rd and short. So I think there's an opportunity to cash both of those. And then staying in the same realm here, because you can throw the ball to the backs against Kansas City. As much as I love Juszczyk, the Niners have another running back who can catch a football pretty well, Christian McCaffrey. I went over 34.5 yards. This is the way I see it. I don't have a strong opinion on the side, but whatever the outcome of this game is.
That's supposed to be receiving yards. I missed 2-3 things.
Yeah, receiving yards.
Yeah, my bad.
But whoever wins the game, I think McCaffrey is going to have a massive day. I just don't think the Chiefs match up with him well in space. So, I think it's hard for non-quarterbacks to win the MVP. But as Spencer pointed out, if you're looking for one for the Chiefs, it would be Kelsey. If you're looking for one for the Niners, I think it would be McCaffrey, who's going to have a big game. And then my bonus bet for next year, because I see it here in the chat from our boy Michael James, Burrow will win the Super Bowl in NOLA next year. You better believe it, baby. The Joe Burrow Revenge Tour. Everyone's forgetting about him. They're all talking about Mahomes and Allen and Jackson. Joe Burrow comes back strong next year. And you got to love that storybook ending in New Orleans, don't you?
Yeah, you know what? I think that's a great idea. Maybe we should all go put a few bucks on that just for the heck of it, because you know what? Stuff like that does happen.
It does.
It really does. So we'll be sitting here next year talking about whether we think it'll be Burrow or Derek Carr to win the Super Bowl. No, maybe not. We'll see how that goes. All right. My picks, let's see if I cannot screw up my own graphics here. Look, my top play is easy. Moneyline, 49ers over the Chiefs. I have been very solid and strong with Mahomes the first 2 games for the reasons that we all say. It's just you bet against Mahomes at your own peril. Well, here's my own peril. I thought the 49ers, since they beat the Cowboys in October, early October, I think it was week 5, since they demolished the Cowboys, I've just thought the 49ers were the best team in the NFL. And you know what? I think that right now. I think they're the best team in the NFL. I am not one to go with recency bias. I hear you, Chiefs fans. I hear you, Mahomes fans. I hear you guys telling me not to bet against Mahomes and why not to bet against Mahomes. But like I said earlier, I'm just not so sure Buffalo and Baltimore were as good as everyone thought they were. And especially not when it comes down to something that means something. And I think that Purdy's got something to prove to get to that next level. And I think that Kyle Shanahan wants to get that bugaboo off of his back, not only from the Super Bowl 4 years ago, but from the 28-3 game as well. Shanahan's got something to prove as well. And beyond that, we never talked about it here on the show, but I think the distractions from the Kansas City and the distractions they've had this past week, especially Patrick Mahomes with his dad being arrested for DWI, his 3rd offense, and having to go through all that and having to talk about it and being asked about it, I think it's going to have an effect on him. I really do. I know he's Mahomes and he doesn't let a lot affect him, but I think that may affect him a little bit. And then all the Travis Kelce stuff with the Swiftie. I think, and then like Spencer said before, not having Joe Thuney there, I think that's also a big deal. So I like the 49ers over the Chiefs. I don't want to give up the 2 points in case it's close. I think there's enough value at -120 to take the money line. And to me, those 2 points are worth that 18 cents, in my opinion, or 15 cents in this case, as it is right now. I'm going to just bet the money line. Now, my favorite game prop, I went through, I kind of stole this, but then I went and did some extra research after I heard this because I didn't know the answer to this. But I'm going to put 56 to win 40 on no team to even attempt a 2-point conversion. And I went back. I said, let me go back and see how often these teams have attempted 2-point conversions throughout the year. The answer? San Francisco hasn't even attempted a 2-point conversion in 2 years. Not this year, not last year, not since 2021 have they even attempted a 2-point conversion. Kansas City this season, they've only tried it once. So in other words, what we're coming down to, we're getting -140 with these conservative coaches for basically 1 quarter, the 4th quarter, because they're not going to try one unless the score dictates they have to at the end of the game. Maybe I should have made this my best bet of the game. I just couldn't make a game prop my best bet. I actually put more money on this than I'm showing on the screen in real life. Usually I'm pretty close to what I show here on the screen. I have more money on that bet personally than I do here on the screen. I love that prop bet. I think that wins, and -140 is a gift. I'd play it up to about -160 if it goes up that high. I don't think it will. We'll see. And then, as others have said here, I love Debo for San Francisco to be successful in this game. Debo's going to have a good game. I love his over 16.5 rushing yards. I think it was Spencer that had this as well. I love this play, and I'm going to bet 39 to win 30 here. I think Debo has a big game, both rushing and receiving, and I think he has to if the 49ers are going to play well, which is why at plus 2,000, and I've said this before, I love Debo Samuel and put $5 on it. I think I actually put 10 in real life, but I like $5 here. Debo to win MVP, a value play. I don't think you're going to find a better value play at MVP than Debo at plus 2,000. Worth doing it. Worth doing it. Darren says, you guys think the 49ers are going to win? I'm not sure if he's being funny or not. Bet the farm. Okay, I will. Thanks, Darren. Thanks for the advice. All right, well, that's our final big bucks of the year. It's been an interesting year for sure with big bucks. But before we go off the air, we talked about the Super Bowl. I think Spencer's going to give his final thoughts, and he's going to give it with the Pelicans.
All right, yeah, the Pels, man, looked really good last night. It's nice to see Zion try.
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
It's like, wow, when did he discover that concept? Like, if he's consistent with that, then maybe this Pels team could go somewhere, because the Clippers are one of the top teams in the West. And the Pels not only beat them, they handled them. I mean, it wasn't even close. They said something about the schedule was not in the Clippers' favor. But, man, come on, man. I don't want to hear the excuses. The Pels are looking strong right now. And if Zion, it's a big if, but if he can stay healthy and motivated, then this team could make a playoff push.
We've seen some of these numbers change the last couple of days. NBA title was as high as plus 7,000 not long ago. It's plus 6,000 now. Last time we talked about the Pels last Thursday, it was plus 6,500. So this little winning streak has changed some things. The West title number has gone down, and their odds to make the playoffs have gone. That's the biggest mover, from minus 400 to minus 750. Tom, man, just out of curiosity, not a closing thought or anything, but you see any of these numbers worth betting at this point?
The basketball numbers?
Yeah. I know you're a college basketball guy, but
it's it's NBA's a little harder in terms of the futures, because I don't think they're going to win the West title. I don't think they're going to win the NBA title. They're more of a team, in the NBA, what I really like to do in the playoffs is bet series. Because that's where I think you can get value similar to Major League Baseball. And I think the Pelicans are a team I'll look for to maybe bet in a series if they get a good matchup early.
I agree. And I like this. I thought last night was tough. I had marked last night down as a loss. So for them to be able to win that game on this really tough road trip, it's the annual Mardi Gras road trip where they send them away from home. Look, if they could get by the Lakers on Friday night, they have an excellent chance to win. They have a chance to have a 4-0 road trip, this Mardi Gras road trip, because they have a realistic chance. Because we all know the Grizzlies now basically have they're quitting. The Grizzlies are going home and packing their stuff, and they'll play again next year. Then they come home and play the Wizards, Rockets, and Heat. I think, Gabe, this could be the start of something really big for this team.
Yeah, you asked about values earlier. If you look at this schedule, it's really hard to imagine this. So I might sound a little crazy for this, but you've got to look at the Pelicans' injury history. I think you guys mentioned it before. There's actually value now in betting the Pelicans to miss the playoffs. I don't think it'll happen, but, Jim, as you always mention, we talk value here. Especially with this schedule, it's hard to envision. But, if 1-2 players get hurt, which has happened plenty before in the past, if you can I don't know what their odds are to miss the playoffs, but
it was, I believe it was plus 400.
There you go. I think that's pretty decent value considering they're a little above the play-in range. But if they get into that play-in range, you've got to win the play-in to be considered making the playoffs. So
I hear you.
Interesting.
I don't know if I'm on that boat or not, but we'll see. There's going to be no show next week. So the next time we talk about the Pelicans, they could really be moving up the charts. And in fact, the next time we talk will be 2 weeks from today. We'll be back on February the 22nd. We'll be back on. And Tom, by then, college basketball will really be ramping towards March Madness. So you're going to have a lot to say the next time we come on here, I'm sure.
Yeah, it'll be like about a week left in the regular season. Then you got the thing about March Madness now is there's that shorter time frame now because the NFL season extends into
Right.
mid-February. So as soon as the NFL season, you got a couple weeks, and then you're in the conference tournaments, and then the big dance. So it's going to be exciting. It's going to be a wide open tournament. So we'll have a lot to say about that.
Well, we certainly will. And again, we're going to take a week off. We have been working pretty hard here at bet.nola.com. Once the Super Bowl is over, I've said it many times. You go to bed in August and you wake up and it's the first week of February, and here we are. So we're going to take a little break next week. I'm actually going to be on vacation. When we come back, we'll be all refreshed. We'll be talking. We'll start talking about the NFL draft. We'll be talking about the Pelicans. As Tom said, we're going to be talking about March Madness, which will be right around the corner. Who knows? Maybe we'll even talk about college baseball. LSU and Tulane about to begin their seasons. Looking forward to that. One more show about football tomorrow morning. Live football, that is. One more show this season. It'll be tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Larry Holder will be on with me for our final live Datitude show of the football season. And we'll close out season 3. Season 3 finale for Datitude tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. And then also wherever you get your podcast. One personal note for me is most people close to me know, and the people on the set know, I lost my dad over the weekend last Sunday, and it's been a tough week for me. But I think I have something to take my mind off of it here at bet.nola.com. And with the Super Bowl up this week, I have a lot to catch my mind elsewhere, I guess is the way to put it. And so I dedicate this show to Jim Derry Sr. Obviously, as most people's dads are, was a big influence in my life. I watched a lot of football with my dad growing up. I spent some time learning to love the Saints. When I was a kid growing up, he took me. I'm old. I went to Tulane Stadium. Yes, I saw the Saints play in Tulane Stadium. That's how old I am. I was a little kid, but I saw it happen. And so I thank my dad for helping me get into football as I did, because I probably wouldn't be here in the grand scheme of things without him. So, Jim Derry Sr., we miss you, and thanks for everything you've done for me. And my little personal note, I'll probably mention it again tomorrow. But as for everyone else, thanks to the panel here, Tom Casale, Gabe Henderson, Spencer the Guru. I'm Jim Derry, and we will be back tomorrow for Datitude and back here in 2 weeks. Thank you for joining us here on Bayou Bets. We'll see you next time. Enjoy the game, everybody.